What's up, Guardians? Profane here. Thanks for checking out the video. This week's Grandmaster is the Psi-ops Battleground on the Cosmodrome. This will be the first time that this Battleground has been a Grandmaster, and truth be told, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. While it definitely had its difficult moments, this Grandmaster felt a lot easier than some of the other ones in this season's rotation, which works out pretty well for all of you who are still trying to get your hands on the Adept Warden's Law, one of the best all-around hand cannons in the game, and the only legendary hand cannon that can deal as much damage as the Malfeasance, with its combination of 4th times the charm and Vorpal. So today we're going to be breaking down everything you need to know about this new Grandmaster, so that you can easily complete it and move one step closer to completing your Conqueror titles this season. The Cosmodrome Battlegrounds pins you up against the Fallen and the Hive. You'll see barrier and unstoppable champions, and a lot of snipers. You'll see damage of every energy type coming at you, but the void damage is going to hurt the most, so having void and sniper resistance mods will really come in handy. You will receive a bonus to stasis and solar damage this week, and shotguns will be overcharged, but I wouldn't really recommend using a shotgun in this Grandmaster. In fact, most of the time, you'll be playing from a distance, utilizing ranged weapons like the Polaris Lance, Hierarchy of Needs, or Wishender, which are my recommended exotic weapons to use with this Grandmaster. Because of the seasonal artifact, solar weapons and solar builds will be the most beneficial with each class. But there is a significant advantage that you'll gain from having an invisible hunter on your team, as you'll be able to easily push the payload forward in the opening phase of this Grandmaster. There's a few select stasis builds that can be beneficial, such as an Osmiumonsi Shadebinder build, which should be able to effectively keep everything slowed and frozen. During the opening phase of this strike, you'll have to move the payload forward while pushing back waves of fallen enemies. You'll need to pay mind to when the dropships come in, because there's usually 2, and if you don't account for both of them, you're going to have snipers perching up somewhere, making this a lot harder for you. It's not an option to be completely passive here, because you do have to push the payload forward, and unless you have an invisible hunter that can do that for you, you'll need to move forward a little at a time once each wave of enemies have been defeated. Move the payload forward a little bit at a time and then drop back. Continue to rotate around the map clockwise, sticking to the perimeter of the map as the payload gets further through. Eventually, the payload will reach the point in which it's all Hive enemies, with a couple of Shriekers and a Lucent Wizard. You will need to finish this Lucent Wizard, so be sure to defeat it last. Since most of the Hive will beeline straight at you, I would encourage to play as far back as you can, utilizing the rooftops of the adjacent buildings if you need to. Once the payload's reached its destination, you'll be able to move on to the next segment of this strike. And to make this encounter a lot easier on yourself, you'll be better off to stay outside of the doorway. Try to use angles from the doorway to pop off everything that spawns inside the room. There will be several champions that spawn in during this phase, but you'll need to defeat the 3 yellow bar wizards before moving on to the final encounter. Since the enemies spawn out of the doorways in the corners of the room, it's not really going to be safe to just stay in the room. So if you do push in to use your supers, be sure to coordinate with your team and then back out to the doorway together once your supers are over. Once all the wizards are defeated, it's time to move to the final encounter of this strike, where you'll face off against a Lucent Knight. Before entering into the Knight's mindscape, you have to get the Knight low. This way the Scions can trap it, so until the Knight is trapped, it'll be wise for you to stay back towards the steps. All it's going to take is just one hit with this Knight's shield and you're going to be instantly dead. Once the Knight is trapped, you'll be teleported into the mindscape, and this is where things can really get chaotic. The best way to handle this room is to stay back on the front pillar. You're not immune while you're up here. Enemies will still be able to shoot at you, and the Knight's shield throws and the Wizard's arc blasts can still reach you. So while you're up here, you need to have some spatial awareness. And because of this, I would recommend to chain barricades, rifts, and wells as much as possible. While staying on the pillar does cause things to go a little slower, this gives you the best opportunity to take care of all the rank and file enemies and the champions while from a distance. While you're on the pillar, you do want to give your teammates some space, because if the knight throws his shield and hits just one of you, it could easily ricochet, killing 2, if not all 3 of you. If you do decide to drop down towards the arena, I would recommend to stick to either the far left or far right edges of the map, using the wall structures as cover. Once it comes time to pick up the spears, you can drop down and pick them up and then scurry back to the pillar, continuing to knock out the wizards until it's time to focus back on the knight. Once the knight is down, be sure to drop down quickly and finish the knight so it doesn't spawn back up. And with that, I think we've covered all the ins and outs of the Psi-ops Battlegrounds Cosmodrome. I hope these tips and tricks are able to help you get through this Grandmaster this week, so that you can get your hands on a handy dandy Warden's Law, a magnificent hand cannon that's definitely worth farming for. And with that said, I wish you all the best and luck. Let me know how your runs are going and what builds you decided to take in. And if you've got any additional tips and tricks for your fellow Guardians, be sure to let us know those down in the comments as well. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. If you're a new Light Guardian, just starting your journey, or a battle-hardened veteran just looking for a new home, then be sure to check out the Discord link in the description below and join one of the greatest communities in all of Destiny. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.